Good morning. So I want to talk about something today in the stock market news. It actually affects right here where I live in Las Vegas. And this actually talks about MGM as a millionaire maker stock. I thought this was pretty interesting to see from the Motley Fool. So an article here from just 2 days ago, actually, talking about this. So this is interesting to see because casino stocks obviously have been beaten down hard since the pandemic started, but for a lot of people who bought them like in March when they were really losing 50% of their value or more, a lot of those people are doing really well right now. And this article specifies talking about MGM. So go ahead and subscribe if you haven't done so for the channel yet, because there's a whole lot more stuff to be talking about in the future when it comes to finance and stocks and, casino stocks here in Vegas. So MGM Resorts talks about how they've made a relatively swift recovery from the depths of the pandemic when their shares fell below $10. Actually, to be more specific, looking here, it fell below $8 at one point. And there you go. There was a little while there in March. Yeah, around the middle of March, where it was $7.14 a share. $7.70 a share. You were getting MGM for less than $8 a share. And right now we're looking at almost $39 a share as of this recording. So, if you bought down there, whoo man, you're doing good. So we're going to talk about this and how starting to recover right now. So it says operations are starting to make a comeback, led by Las Vegas. And then when Macau hits its stride, we could see this become a cash flow machine again. Now, it talks about the potential risk or the upside and how much risk there is. This writer saying he thinks that it could be a good risk to take. It does talk about the core of MGM Resorts and their two primary businesses they have, North America and in China, and which is two resorts in Macau, which, as many of you probably know if you're watching this, gambling is huge in Macau. Lots of these, not just MGM, but like Las Vegas Sands and Wynn Resorts and some of these other large gaming companies, these resorts properties, they make a lot more money in Macau than they do here in Las Vegas. Even though Vegas gets a lot of attention, gambling is much bigger in Macau than it is here. So here in Las Vegas, we make a lot of money from gambling, of course, but also things like food and beverage now, the conventions, or when we have conventions, that's a huge chunk of our money here in Las Vegas. So since MGM is one of the biggest property owners on the Las Vegas Strip, I think they might actually be the biggest. They're the biggest employer in the state of Nevada. Talks about how they have regional casinos all over the country. Talks about how their revenue's down. Goes into some of the numbers and specifics here and things like that. But this interesting point says right now regional casinos are a huge point of strength and an underappreciated part of the business. But you can see that all resort and casino revenue is down because of the pandemic. However, if the vaccine rollout continues and case numbers continue to fall, there could be a sharp rebound later this year and in 2022. And from the research I've seen and from people I've talked to that are in finance, business, and do a lot of economic work and economic studying, that seems to be kind of the consensus, is that later in 2021, things will continue to get better throughout this year as we go into 2022. Now, it does talk about MGM and their properties in Macau and how much money they make over there. And then this is an interesting part where it talks about their new growth business. Now, it says MGM's operation is a relatively new online gaming business, a 50-50 partnership with Entain, known as BetMGM. In 2020, BetMGM generated $178 million in net revenue and posted a $62 million operating loss. But the company is growing quickly, with MGM expecting net revenue to be more than double in 2021. If MGM is going to be a growth stock, it'll be BetMGM that gets there. This part here about while the pandemic was certainly a driver of online betting growth, the market is still relatively new. BetMGM was only operational in 9 states by the end of 2020, and only about a quarter of the country has legalized online sports betting or iGaming. That leaves a huge untapped market for MGM, definitely. To grow into long-term, eventually online gaming could be more profitable than any casino in Las Vegas or Macau. That's definitely true. And if you look at MGM's properties, some of them around the country, like maybe in Detroit, or like I was actually at their property in National Harbor in Maryland just a month ago. So, there are some of those regional properties that they have. I think there's only 6 casinos in the entire state of Maryland or something like that. So people coming from all over Maryland, I'm sure some come from Virginia and DC and stuff like that to go gamble. Some of their regional properties have way less competition, of course, than they do here in Las Vegas. Now, it does close out here talking about some of the markets they operate in, the road to recovery in the U.S. Says they think they have some of the best balance sheets in the gambling industry, with just over $7 billion of debt. It says if MGM can return its resorts and casinos to the $3 billion of EBITDA generated in 2019 and add BetMGM's growth to that, this could be both a value and growth stock. So, and this closeout here is very true. It says the casino industry has been beaten up over the past year as the pandemic shut down operations and hindered travel around the world. Yes. Where I live here in Las Vegas, obviously, so much of our economy here relies on people being able to travel here for conventions, for gambling, for fun, for nightlife, for partying, whatever the case may be. That, when you shut down our economy here for 2.5 months and, travel is hindered big time, then that hurts us here a lot. So, says there is a chance demand for large entertainment facilities will explode once vaccinations reach a wide audience. I've definitely heard talk about that being the case. Is basically a lot of built up demand for people who haven't been able to go on vacation for a year plus, and they, some of these people visit Vegas 2, 3, 4 times a year or more, and they haven't been able to come here. So it says consumers and businesses are ready to get together for vacations and conventions once again, and MGM Resorts could be one of the biggest beneficiaries. Absolutely. Lots of these properties here in Vegas, whether it's MGM Resorts, Wynn Resorts, Las Vegas Sands, any of these, when things get back to normal, it's going to be huge for them because conventions coming here is absolutely massive for this trip, especially during the week. During the week, that's when the convention crowd really helps bring profit to town, because the weekend you get people who come from LA a lot, people who come from other nearby states, bachelor parties, bachelorette parties. Lots of people will take a weekend, come to Vegas, but during the week, those conventions are huge. So tell me what you think about MGM Resorts being a millionaire maker stock. If you have any money invested in it, if you bought like in March when it was under $8 a share, I'd love to hear about it. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. That's going to be it for this video. I'll see you guys again soon.